Okay, let's take a look at the menu in the Goggles M3. It's controlled with the motion control. As you can see on the screen, I can move the little cursor around here, and if I pull the trigger towards me, it activates the icon, and if I go down, I can click into each one in turn, and if I press the little trigger away from me, as in I'm going to make the quad go backwards, it's like a backup button. So first one, we'll go with the status, and in here you can switch between your Neo and the Avatar 2. If you've got more than one Neo, I would imagine you can probably switch between that as well. Let's go back. Now we're in beginner mode at the moment, so speed is limited in beginner mode. We can use the settings to disable that. We'll show that in a minute. Album, obviously, if there's anything on the quad, you can use that to quick transfer. Transmission. In here you've got broadcasting and channel mode. Now if someone has another pair of M3 goggles, you can actually set that to broadcast, and someone in the audience then would be able to then find the goggles and connect, and two people can view what's going on at the same time. In settings we have safety, so we've got your max flight altitude, max flight distance, return to home altitude. You can update the home point, and you can calibrate compass, IMU, goggles calibration, and goggles IMU as well. Let's come out of that. Let's go into control, motion controller. You can have a look at this. Switch handedness even. You can go right hand, and you can also go left hand if you want to. If you go in gain tuning, you can change the gains, which I won't do because I don't want to mess anything up. And last, you've got RC calibration, where you can calibrate the compass, the IMU, accelerator, and joystick calibration. Now I'm going to guess that these are for the quad, and the accelerator and joystick would be for the Motion 3 controller. Gimbal pitch speed, you've got slow, normal, and fast. Gimbal calibration, you can go in there and calibrate the gimbal. Units, if you go in there, you've got metric meters, metric kilometers, and imperial miles per hour. Beginner mode, as I said, here is where you can turn beginner mode on and off. I've got it on because I've never flown one of these before. Well, I've not flown one yet because I've not had the chance to. You can launch the goggles tutorial, and you can also launch the motion controller tutorial as well. In camera, we've got the aspect ratio. You can set 4.3 or 16.9. Video quality, 4K, 30 frames, and 1080p, 30, 50, and 60. Recording stabilization, horizon balancing, and rock steady. Line view stabilization is either off or rock steady. Then there's some camera settings down here, and you can of course format the SD card, either the internal storage on the Neo or the goggles SD card. I'll show you the goggles SD card slot in a moment. So let's come out of there. That's pretty much all there is in there. Or display, you can change the brightness, and you can turn it down. If I go down to 1, for instance, it would really dim it. 4 seems about right for me. Display scaling, you can change it down to 50%, and what that will do is it will do this here when it shrinks it down to a smaller screen. Some pilots prefer a smaller screen and having to sort of move their eyes around the whole screen, so you can change that if you want to. I'll leave it back at 100% for now. There we go. You can set the home point. Screen masking is this little black border around the screen there, like that. And goggles defog, if you put that on, the little fan starts up and it will help to defog. Trouble is, if you're wearing glasses, it doesn't actually defog your glasses, and unfortunately I do wear glasses. Oh, I just need to turn that off. And then in the about section here, just firmware, details, goggle firmware, etc, etc. That's it. So that's what's in the Goggles M3 display. Okay, so I mentioned the SD card slot, and here it is here. Next to USB-C. You can plug the goggles directly into the computer, which is great, which means you can offload your files. The other thing I didn't like is that the video file format is in MOV, which is usually associated with QuickTime or Apple video files. Now, you've gone through the settings with me. I didn't see anywhere where I can change the video type from MOV to MP4. I do prefer MP4 files. Now let's have a look at the actual video file itself, and I'll just play this video here. So this is what you see on the video that comes out of the goggles itself. Just going to pause that for a second. You get a complete representation of what you see on the screen. Now I think this is really good because it's like a screen recorder. When I go out flying, I always screen record my flights for one very simple reason. If something does go wrong, and I've got the app still running at screen recording. It gives me a good idea of what went wrong, how many satellites there were at the time, etc, etc. Yeah, I know I could pull the logs, but having an actual video representation of what was happening at the time is always good. Maybe at some point DJI will give us the option to clear the screen, just have pure FPV view, which was the in the Mavic Pro days with the big white goggles. You just had the screen view and no controls, anything like that, and it was really good. But yeah, that's what the goggles menu and the SD card looks like. Join me on the next video and I will see you then.